Mark here with DIY Wise. Today we're going to do a little log splitter maintenance. I got this log splitter from a buddy of mine. It hasn't been used for probably about 2 years, so we're going to have to check a few things over, check the fuel. Obviously the fuel's going to be old, so we're going to have to try to drain it, check the hydraulic fluid, make sure the level's good on it, and just look the machine over in general, check the air filter and a few other general maintenance items and see how it runs, and we'll go from there. First thing we're going to do is check the fuel here. There's fuel in there and there's a fuel filter. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get a hold of this fuel filter. I'm going to pull it out, check it, make sure there's no debris sitting in there, get that cleaned out, and we're going to drain the fuel out since there's obviously fuel in there. Alright, we got the fuel filter there. You can see there's a little bit of debris in there, but it's not bad. Go ahead and just blow that out. If you can look in the bottom of your fuel tank here, you can see there's some debris down in there. So we'll get that fuel drained out of here. Alright, so the bottom of the fuel tank right here, there's a valve to turn the fuel off and on. I'm going to get this hose out of the way. And there's a clamp right here. I'll just take this clamp off and drain the fuel out there. Got that hose out of the way. I'll try to catch some of this fuel. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to catch. Turn that on, and we'll get all this fuel drained out of here. Alright, we got the fuel all drained out. We'll reattach this hose. Slide the clamp back on. Alright, the next thing I like to do is use Seafoam. It's a really good fuel additive, especially when something's been sitting for a while, or if you know it's going to be sitting for a while. I always add this to the fuel. So you'll take and dump. What I'm going to do is dump a couple ounces in here before I even put gas in. Now with just the Seafoam in there, I'll put this cap back on. Just loosely, it doesn't matter, so no debris gets back in there. I'm going to turn on the valve, put it on choke, and I'm just going to pull this real slow. I don't want it to start. I just want to try to work some of that fuel down through the system. That way it can get in there and soak and clean out some of that old fuel or whatever else may be in there, because that old fuel is going to be gunked up in there. Alright, pull that a few times, get that in there, let it soak for a while, and try to work through there. Okay, we let that soak a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and put the fuel filter back in here. I'm going to put some gas in here now. Okay, we're not going to change the oil, but I'm going to check it. You check it right here at the bottom. Got to unscrew this plug. Shouldn't be too hard to unscrew. And the oil level should pour out of here if it's its right level. Yep, see, it's right there. You can see it just on the edge there. That's where it should be. So we're good on that. We'll leave that go for now. If the oil needs change, we'll go ahead and do that, but as of right now, we'll just do that. Place the fuel cap. Okay, next we're going to check the hydraulic fluid. Right on the end of the reservoir, there's going to be a plug. So you're going to get a wrench and you're going to want to unscrew that. But before you unscrew that, you're going to want to turn the engine on. Work your control forward and back a couple times, just to release the hydraulic pressure. Going to want to turn this off. This particular plug takes a 17mm wrench. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can break this loose. And it wasn't too hard to break loose. In order to check your hydraulic fluid level, there's a dipstick that should be right on your plug. If you don't have one, you'll have to check your operator's manual, but it's usually like an inch or inch and a half below the highest level on this tank, as much as it can hold. You don't want it to be completely full. It needs some room in there to expand and contract. So we'll go ahead and dry this off. Stick that down there, and you stick it down in there. You don't thread it in whenever you check the level. So you pull it up out of there, and we are right there. So there's a high and there's a low. We're right in the middle here. I'll check it again real quick. There's a high and a low. We're right at the perfect mark there. We'll get this threaded back in there. I just want to look at I'm going to check the color of the hydraulic fluid. It's a little yellowish, which I believe that's the color that it should be. Get that threaded back in there. And if you'll notice on the side of this plug, there's a hole right here. If you have your log splitter, it's tilted this way, and there's too much hydraulic fluid on this side, it can spew out of here and start spitting out of here. Also, if your level's too high or too low, the hydraulic fluid can spit out of here also. If it's too low, it has a chance of sucking in air, and the air gets in there and it starts spitting out hydraulic fluid. If it's too high, well, it's obviously just too high, and once you start working the log splitter, it expands and gets hot, and it'll start spewing out of there. So we'll go ahead and get this snug down. Nothing crazy, just snug. Over here, you have your filter for your hydraulic fluid. So I'm going to clean this up, just make sure I don't notice any leaks. That way, if it's clean, I can notice the leaks whenever I go to run it. If you check your hydraulic fluid and you automatically see it's bad and you need to change your hydraulic fluid, the way you need to change your hydraulic fluid is you take this off, you check it, you check the level, check to see if it's good or bad. And on this particular log splitter, it has a plug right here that you simply unscrew, drain it out into a pan and catch it all. Once that all drains, replace the plug. After all the hydraulic fluid drains, you'll unscrew the filter, take it off, wet the seal on top of the new filter with new hydraulic fluid, tighten this back up snug, that way it doesn't vibrate loose. Fill your hydraulic fluid up to the necessary level. You can look in your owner's manual to see how much it holds approximately to make sure you got it all out. Make sure you check it on the dipstick or wherever level it's supposed to be, whether it's inch below, inch and a half below, whatever it might be. After you fill that up, you're going to want to start the engine, let it run, get warmed up, and you're going to work the ram all the way up, all the way down. Do it quite a few times, I don't know, a dozen times or so. Check your hydraulic fluid. Again, after you do all that, if it needs a little bit more, go ahead and put it in, but you're going to want to check it whenever it's cool, not when it's hot and after it's been working. So now we're going to want to check the air filter, see if it's dirty. On this air filter, it's right up front. You're going to want to unscrew this screw and unscrew this. This air filter looks really good and really clean, so we're just going to go ahead and put that right back on there. Alright, so now we're going to turn this to on. We're going to put the choke on. And we're gonna turn the throttle all the way up on it. Turned it on, put the choke on, we turned the throttle all the way up. It's full of fresh gas, and I have sea foam in it also to hopefully clean out the carburetor so I don't have to tear the carburetor apart. But we'll see what happens here. We got it on choke right now and on. Different. I wanted to take that air filter off to see if it happened to run any different. It's starting to rain on me right now, so I'm gonna have to come out here and do this at a later time. We actually just got a tornado watch here, so I'm gonna have to head in. It just started raining. See what happens here. It's starting to pour on me. Talk to you in a bit, guys. Thanks. Sorry about that. We got a little tornado watch going on here, so I'm fighting in between the raindrops. Just started sprinkling right now again here, so if you notice it stopped running there. I had the choke almost turned, it's halfway, it stopped running, so we're going to try to start it up again. The carburetor probably needs clean. I don't know if you could hear me while it was running there. The governor, it's jumping back and forth, it's not acting right, so maybe if I get some of that sea foam in there, let it set, it might clean it up. I might have to take the carburetor apart to get it cleaned up. Turn it on. Turn the throttle all the way up again, put it on choke. seems like it's running okay. On choke, it keeps on running. I'm not exactly sure. It might need cleaned out the carburetor probably. So what I'm going to try to do on high idle, I'm going to try to run it and try to split a log, and we'll see what happens. It's not running on low idle. It wants to choke out, so we'll see if after running it, it may clean it out some. Let's go ahead and get this started. Turn it on, get it running, and I'm going to try to split a log and see how it acts.